I'm sorry, all right? I know it's been a long time. You're probably even wondering, where did this guy even go? Did he get into a car crash? Did he have some sort of existential crisis? Goodness me, where has he gone to? Don't worry, I'm back. I'm sorry, it's been a long time. It's been a long time. I would know. It's been eating at me every single day. I haven't uploaded. I haven't uploaded. But if I'm being honest with you guys, it's been a hectic period. But I'm back, right? I'm back. And I know it's been a long time, but the videos are going to be back. Hopefully, they're going to be back every week, once a week. I guarantee you, I'm going to do my best once every single week. But of course, what that does mean is you might not get the same highly edited, detailed videos as you were before. Frankly, because I was kind of getting bored of editing them and I wasn't seeing the same interest in them as I thought that I would get from the amount of time I was putting into it. And I'd rather just sit here and talk to you guys about football. At the end of the day, that's the reason I started this channel. And it didn't feel right to just be working and working and working, and I wasn't enjoying it. So instead, I'm just going to sit here and talk to you guys about football, which was the main reason I started this channel. If that's not something you guys would like to see, let me know down in the comments. We can find a common ground. But if you're new to the channel, I know most of you probably are not. You've been wondering where I've been for a while, but I'm back. And if you're new to the channel, as I said, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. I'm not going to go away this time. I'm going to be here for a bit. I'm going to be uploading consistently because now with these sort of videos where I'm just sitting and talking to you, should be much easier for me to get videos out to you guys. And what better way to return than with a football fanatic? As you've seen in the title, today we're going to be talking about Manchester City. We're going to be talking about the Man City Arsenal game. We're going to be talking about Liverpool. And is it possible that Barcelona might be back? I know we just lost to Monaco, but come on, it's just a bump in the road. Let's get right into it. Now we kick off with the Premier League champions, Manchester City, and they're playing against Arsenal this weekend as I'm recording this. And before we even get into that game, I wanted to actually talk about Manchester City as a team going into this season. And I feel like the common consensus was, can they get up and do it again? That was really the main talking point going into this new season. And you look at the transfers that they've made with Ilkay Gundogan and Savinho, who we talked about him in the Girona video. That guy is quality. So in terms of Manchester City, they were the team that needed to be beat. And I feel like this season, they've kind of gotten even better than last year. They've actually started the season off in a good way rather than building up to it towards the end of the season. You're seeing Erling Haaland scored, I believe, 9 goals in 4 games in the Premier League this season. Just an absolute beast. And it looks like Manchester City have reverted back to those wide wingers that we talked about in that video with Leroy Sané and Raheem Sterling. If you haven't seen that video, make sure you check it out, where we talked about the 2019 fixture between Liverpool and Manchester City, first v second at that time, just like it's going to be first v second this weekend between Man City and Arsenal. If you haven't watched it, make sure you check it out. Very insightful video. But of course, with Manchester City, we knew how much they prioritized the center of the field, making sure they had overloads in there and taking advantage with the incredible players they have in those areas. Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden, Kevin De Bruyne, Ilkay Gundogan before he left the club, even sometimes Jack Grealish, who kind of roams in there, as well as the inverted fullbacks. But this season, you can see an emphasis has been placed on the wingers in Jeremy Doku and Savinho, and essentially just stretching the field. And I feel like finally Pep Guardiola is kind of readjusting back to that. And he's kind of giving his wingers freedom to play their game. Jack Grealish as well, you're seeing a bit more improvements in his flair and his decision making as a whole. For a long time, Jack Grealish has kind of just been this piece in a system rather than being able to show his own individual quality. Obviously, we know how good of a player he is, but I feel like now you're starting to see him bring that extra X factor that we weren't seeing before, because I think Pep Guardiola is giving a bit more license to his wingers as a whole. And Erling Haaland, what a summer can do for a player. I always say this, giving a player a rest, you're going to see a completely different player. And at the Euros, we saw that many players who had no rest and came into the tournament straight off the back of a long, arduous season, many of them didn't perform. But Erling Haaland has come into the season and he's off to an absolute flyer. Kevin De Bruyne is kicking off. Unfortunately, he got injured against Inter Milan. But Manchester City look good. Honestly, they look good. Of course, they've made a few mistakes in defense, and Rodri for a bit was out. But the fact that they started the season 4 from 4, they're going up against Arsenal at home. It's all on Arsenal to win. Genuinely, it is all on Arsenal to win. You look at their game against Inter Milan. Of course, that was a bump in the road, but I've said it before on this channel. Inter Milan in my opinion, Inter Milan are generally top 4 teams in Europe. Real Madrid, Manchester City, Inter Milan. They are absolutely incredible. Anybody that watches Inter Milan week in, week out knows exactly what I'm talking about. Simone Inzaghi has set up their team in such a way. If you haven't seen the video, I talked about it in a previous Football Fanatic, in which I thought Inter Milan were favorites for the Champions League. Of course, as you would see, they went on to lose the next round against Atletico Madrid in a game that really they shouldn't have lost. They were better than Atletico Madrid across the two ties, but that's just how football goes. In a penalty shootout, anything can happen. But with Inter Milan, they're so good in every facet of the game. They're able to play wide with their fullbacks, with DeMarco and Dumfries. They're able to play in those narrow areas with Barella and now the incoming Piotr Zielinski. They have the tempo controllers in Hakan Çalhanoğlu, Henrik Mkhitaryan. They have the incredible ball-playing center backs with Bastoni and Bisek, even Matteo Darmian, who's had a renaissance in the Milan. You even have the two strikers up top in Lautaro Martinez and Marcus Thuram, and now you add Mehdi Taremi to that. There's genuinely no way to beat Inter Milan. It's fail-safe. Of course, when I say this, it's inevitable they're going to lose games in which they're not playing at their highest level. You're going to have those games, but you look at the way they played against Man City, and that's the only thing that I think might deter Man City in their game against Arsenal. Inter Milan were so robust. They were so good defensively, and going the other way, they were good as well. They definitely could have gone a goal or two if Matteo Darmian was a bit more effective, if Lautaro was a bit more sharp. Who knows? That game could have gone a completely other way. So for me, going into the game against Arsenal, Manchester City will be the favorites, but there are a lot of things they need to look out for. I'm looking at the way that Inter Milan set up against them, and that brings us on to Arsenal, who, between Inter Milan and Arsenal, those are probably two of the best defensive teams in terms of setting up in the world. I don't have a lot of plaudits to give Arsenal, but one thing I will give them is their defense is absolutely incredible. Mikel Arteta has set them up to be so good defensively, especially away from home. You generally can't beat them away from home. You cannot beat them away from home. And for me, I look at a team like Arsenal going away from home to the Etihad Stadium, you're going to suffer. You are going to suffer, and you need to be able to withstand that. They did that against Spurs last week, in which they weren't really good, but they got the win in the end through a set piece. But that brings us on to Arsenal as a whole. Of course, they've picked up 10 points in 12 out of 12 this season, drawing their game against Brighton in pretty controversial fashion. But I have a very deep-rooted problem with Arsenal. And it's a problem that is kind of illogical, but also logical at the same time. My biggest problem with Arsenal really stems from the fact that I look at the way they played 2 years ago. You look at the vibrant, dynamic, interesting, brave football they played. You look at the way they went to Anfield. You look at the way they went to Stamford Bridge. You look at the way they even went to the Etihad to an extent. The way they played at the Emirates against the big teams, the Man Uniteds, the Liverpools. It was so fun to watch. It felt courageous. It felt like they had a point to prove. And then in all shapes and purposes, they did, because they were not the same level as they are now. And then you saw the capitulation. We all saw the capitulation towards the end of the season. And it feels as though Mikel Arteta has kind of just thrown away that vibrant attacking style of play and has just reverted to being pragmatic and being hard to beat. And in no way, shape, or form am I saying that that's a wrong thing to do. Football can be played in many different ways. But me being a Barcelona fan, you guys know my ideals in football. You know my principles. I like to see good football. Being a Barcelona fan, that's always going to be a given. So when I see a team like Arsenal, and of course, as I said before, it is a way of winning games. But when you have a team like Arsenal with the amount of quality they have, Bukayo Saka, Martin Odegaard, there's so much quality in this team, yet they play such a rigid, dull style of football. Genuinely, the way they play football feels so robotic. Even when they're playing at home, there's always this narrative that, okay, it's only away from home that Mikel Arteta sets up this way. Even when they play at home against mediocre teams, there's still this sense of all the attacks are kind of set up. All the attacks are already a game plan, like it's the NFL. And I don't think that's how you want football to be. Of course, there are tactics. Of course, there are patterns of play. But Arsenal just feels so... I feel like Arsenal are the perfect illustration of modern day football in the fact that every player is a chess piece in a system. There is no freedom of play. There is no dynamism. There is no freedom to play. I know this may be seen as controversial. I've had many Arsenal fans who tell me what I'm saying is rubbish, but I will stand on this because I've seen them play so many times. Arsenal, they go away from home. They play against a team that's not as good as them, and they look so timid. They look so timid. They're trying to win set pieces. That's the way they win games. They're scoring corner kicks. You see them score 6 goals in a game, and 3 of them are corner kicks. As I said before, that is a style of play. I'm not knocking that. But that doesn't move me. That doesn't move me at all. Like, it feels so vanilla. It feels so basic. I feel like I'm watching Atletico Madrid of 13-14, who were a successful side, yes, but I don't think anybody sitting here in this comment section or in this video is going to tell you that Atletico Madrid were an elite ball-playing team. And I think maybe that's the problem. I'm still trying to associate Mikel Arteta's Arsenal with that 22-23 team who were so expressive and so good on the ball. Maybe they're not that anymore. Maybe I need to reimagine what it is that Arsenal are. Maybe they are this pragmatic team who are difficult to beat and will not get you up off your seat. But it's an interesting topic because I've seen a lot of people who share this sentiment. Of course, Twitter is not the best place to get logical opinions, but every time Arsenal play, especially away from home, especially against a team that's probably as good as them or maybe better than them, they just look meh. Even look at their game against Atalanta this week. Meh, just average. No X Factor players, no freedom for a player to dictate the game on their own. Nobody really pulling their head up out of and saying, I'm going to win this game for us. It just feels like everybody's waiting for the system to click. And if the system doesn't click, oh, well, we'll go to set pieces. Oh, well, if set pieces don't click, we're not going to score any goals. But we're definitely not going to concede any goals. So just know that minimum it's going to be a 0-0 draw. As I said, it's a style of football. It works. It wins titles. Jose Mourinho did it with Porto. He did it with Chelsea. Atletico Madrid have done it before. Inter Milan have done it before. But it doesn't move me. It doesn't move me. It doesn't make me sit here and say, Arsenal are the best team. They're the best team in England. No chance. No chance. Last year, I was genuinely rooting for Manchester City because Arsenal did not move me. They didn't feel like the best team in England. They didn't feel like that. And it may be controversial for me to say they are the best defensive team in the world, but in attack, they don't move me at all. At all. And going into this game against Manchester City, I would not be surprised if this game ends 0-0. And that's a shame. That is a shame because these are two incredibly well set up teams. I watched Arsenal play Manchester City. That was 2-3 years ago now? The season where Manchester City won the treble. And it was exciting. It was vibrant. It was end to end. It was all action. And I know Arteta's thinking, well, if we play Manchester City at their own game, they're going to kill us. But mate, take a risk. Take a risk. It's not the end of the world. You lose the game, all right. There's 35 more games to play. Take a risk. Come on. It's just something that doesn't sit right with me. Maybe it's because I'm a Barcelona fan, so the way I see football is different from other people, but I just don't get it. I don't get it. He was playing such beautiful football at the start. What happened? Where did that go? Why did he change it so drastically, so quickly? Come on, man. And to round up the return of Football Fanatic, we're going to be talking about my dear club. My beautiful, beautiful club, Barcelona. Yes, I know we lost to Monaco a few nights ago, but it doesn't matter. That was actually yesterday. It doesn't matter, right? Because that wasn't Barcelona. That was Ter Stegen. That was all him. That was all Ter Stegen's fault. Ter Stegen was playing against us. It was 12v10 out there. You know, Pedri and Casado were fighting for their life, and their captain, their so-and-so captain, was doing whatever he felt like on the pitch. But that doesn't matter. We forget about that. We move on, right? We have Villarreal coming up this Sunday. You have the first 4 games of La Liga. Perfect streak. We've been playing beautiful football. Lamine Yamal is changing my life. You guys, Lamine Yamal is changing my life. Honestly, he's saving my life. Rafinha is a new player. I know I hated on him last season, and I still stand on that. I'm going to stand on that. Any of you who come and tell me, oh, well, you were hating on him before, you can't praise him now. I will praise him now because he's playing well now. He wasn't playing well before. He wasn't doing the things he's doing now before. Robert Lewandowski is actually scoring some goals, actually being in the right positions. Marc Casado, Pedri. I've told you guys about Pedri, this kid. It's a shame. It's a shame the injuries keep on getting him, man. It's a real shame. But Lamine Yamal, we could talk about him all day. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys something you guys already know. But the only thing I will say, don't let people make you believe what this guy is doing is normal. Don't let anyone make you believe that. This kid is 17. 2007. And he's playing at a level that arguably is the best in the world. 17 years old. The best player in the world. 17 years old. Don't let anyone make you believe that that's normal. No chance. But on Barcelona, Hansi Flick is bringing in a new style of play that we've never really seen. I've believed for a long time that we needed to revert away from the tiki-taka, slow-paced footballing, total football ideology. It's been outgrown. Football's evolved. Things have changed. Our greatest ever practicer of that style of football, Pep Guardiola, has moved away from that. Why we were still trying to force that style of football, I have no idea. But of course, we lost to Monaco. It was a poor way to start the Champions League, but keep an eye on Barcelona, especially with the nonsense Real Madrid are doing. Obviously, I'm not going to say anything on Real Madrid because Real Madrid do this every year. They play absolute nonsense for majority of the season. They win games through hook or crook. I don't know what's going over in that institution. And then they win the Champions League at the end of the season despite not even being good for majority of the year. But that's just how the cookie crumbles. But what I will enjoy, whether we win trophies or not, I'm going to enjoy Lamine Yamal football. Because as I said before, this kid is changing my life. But as always, if there's anything you guys saw in football that you guys want to talk to me about, whether that be, there's so many things that I want to talk about, but I don't want to drag this video on, right? It's the first video back. Let's just ease into it. I could have talked about John Duran, who I genuinely believe right now, that guy, the way he hits a ball. I could have talked about AC Milan versus Liverpool and just Liverpool as a whole, Arne Slot's Liverpool, and how I generally think that team is going to be very good this year. I could have even spoken about the way Manchester United still don't have a good style of play, despite Ten Hag being here for about 3 years now and having all the players that he wants. He pretty much has an entire starting 11 of players that he has brought into the club, yet there's still no genuine good style of play. I could have talked about Chelsea, and it seems like they're coming back into the frame. It looks like they're going to be a serious threat this season. I could have talked about the nonsense going on at Real Madrid. There's so many things, and that's why we love football, right? Football's so broad, and it's open to opinions. Let me know what you guys have to say about the things that I've spoken about, as well as things that I haven't spoken about. If there's anything that you guys saw throughout the world of football, European, non-European, let me know. Maybe I'll talk about it. Maybe I'll look into it and see what it is that I think, right? But as always, thank you guys so much for tuning in. As I said before, I'm sorry. It's been a while. Genuinely, it has been. Even I know, right? So you don't have to say it in the comments. You don't have to say it in the comments. I know some of you still say it, but you don't have to say it. I know. But I assure you, with this style of video, the editing process doesn't take as long. It's going to be a lot easier for me to get videos out to you guys. You guys can communicate back to me down in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on football. Let me know your opinions. What kind of people do I have in here? Do I have tacticals? Do I have, football purists? What kind of people do I have? Let me know the type of people that you are in the comments below. But as always, like, subscribe, tell people who you think might enjoy the sort of content that I make. But as always, thank you guys so much. Take care.